Oh boy, I think I'm in love. All right, so let's talk about some of the features and the key differences from the 20 watt to the 40 watt conversion, as well as the old 10 watt machine that I reviewed almost a year ago. So as you can see here, we have the 10 watt, the 20 watt, and the 40 watt head, and obviously they get larger as they go. The 10 watt is actually two 5 watt diodes that are combined into one. You've got 4 with the 20 and you've got 8 with the 40. And you can see the progression of how their innovativeness kind of grew as the product has grown and as time has passed. One of the key features that I loved on the 10 watt version that I reviewed before is the little kickstand, or some like to call bottle opener, for setting the focus. So once this is on the machine, you just lower it down until the little kickstand is on top of what you're trying to engrave or cut, and then you lock the vertical adjustment, and then you fold that back up, and it magnetically attaches to the side. So it's always there, you don't have to go find it, and it just makes using the machine that much more enjoyable. So when they evolved from there, they went to the 20 watt. The 20 watt, large fan on top, built-in cable restraint, just like the 10 watt version has. Still has the same kickstand. Has a guide on the side for use with an air assist, and that air assist plumbing kind of sticks out the side. Very adequate, worked quite well. And then they added a new thing, and this is a material thickness adjustment. So when you're using higher wattage lasers like the 20 or the 40, for you to get the best result, you want to, if you're trying to do something that's thicker material, you want to push the focus of the laser beam into the material, not just on top of it. And so if you can do that, then you'll get a better cut, you'll get better results, and you'll get faster results as well. So they've got an adjustment on the side where you can actually offset the kickstand basically to compensate for the thickness of the material. And so on the side, it's got 0, 2, 4, and 6 millimeter. So if you were doing something that was 12 millimeter thick, you would move it to the 6 millimeter adjustment, and then you would know that your focus is actually below the surface, and you'll get a better result. So moving on to the 40 watt. So all those great features have carried over. We've got the same kickstand. We've got the thickness of material adjustment built in. We've got a new addition, which is a magnetically attached shield that goes on the bottom. We've got built-in air assist now, so there's no plumbing that you have to add. You actually have a connector for the tube right on top of the laser head, and that just goes all the way through and comes out where the laser comes out. And then we've also upgraded, because of just the sheer laser power that's in this head, we need a fan. And the cool thing about the way that they've added the fan is it's only running when the machine is doing something. If you just power it on, no fan. If you tell it to move to where you're going to do your job, that's when the fan will come on. As soon as it gets where it needs to go, it'll cut off. As soon as you hit the go button and let the laser start doing some work, the fan comes on. When it's done with that job, the fan goes off. So there's not a lot of unnecessary noise, and I appreciate that. The cool thing on the back of this, you've got a wider connector and even an additional connector over the 20 watt machine, but they have a strainer leaf that's built into the back of the laser head. So once you plug your cables in, you just kind of lay them forward, put that down, and that'll provide some strain relief to the cable as the machine is moving around. In order to allow the upgrade from the 20 watt head to the 40 watt head, the kit for the 40 watt comes with an entirely new X-axis. So you also have a much beefier carriage that the laser is riding in, and that is because the laser head is a little bit on the heavy side. And so as this is moving around, and I was able to get really good results even at 5,000 millimeters a minute, you need a stiffer beam to hold that, and the kit comes with that. Some other items that are included in the upgrade from the 20 to the 40 watt, a new motherboard, which is very easy to install. It's really only 4 screws. And then you've got the targets, and these are the little pieces of metal that actually break a beam to let the machine know that I've moved to the maximum travel, either in the front or the rear, and that keeps the head from crashing. And so that is, 2 screws for each of those items, and it's very easy to install. And so while I'm talking, I'm going to go ahead and put this thing back together. Some of the other key things about the machine are the ecosystem that Xtool has kind of put in place, where you can really expand on the capabilities of this system. And it really turns into a system when you add the RA2 rotary, you add the air assist pump that they have, which basically you plug that into the wall, turn on the switch, plumb the pipe into here, and you're ready to go. They also have things like an enclosure to put this in so you can kind of evacuate the fumes and the smoke more efficiently. I highly recommend an enclosure of some type. And then you've got even a fire suppression system that they have come out with, that in the event that there is a fire in the footprint of the machine, it will recognize that and use CO2 to put that fire out. That's pretty impressive. I'm always interested to see all the new and innovative things that they come out with, because they do it a lot. It has literally been 11 months since I reviewed the 10-watt version, and here we are looking at the first 40-watt machine, so that's pretty impressive. All right, some more key things are this machine has its own software that you can use to run it, but like I usually do with most of these box style machines, I use Lightburn. This works right out of the box with Lightburn as well. There's nothing special you need to do other than set up Lightburn, and they even go so far as to make that much easier by providing you a configuration file online that you can just download and import it into Lightburn, and it kind of creates this machine in Lightburn for you. So that makes it even easier. All right, so let's do one of my favorite parts of the video, and that's always showing you what I was able to make with the Xtool D1 Pro 40 watt. So let's jump right into it. So the first thing that I did was the Neo 7 CNC squareness test, file available on the website. And this is just a very simple test that I use, and just to get a kind of a baseline of the squareness of the machine. So it cuts this circle out, and if I can rotate the circle inside the material, that means it's fairly square. Now, I'm not pulling out a set of calipers and measuring that, but I have tested some machines where after you put them together, you can't move this for like 15 degrees and it gets stuck, which means that you have more of an egg shape than a circle. So I did notice that I actually engraved this at 50% power, which I have to remember that's actually 20 watts, which is a lot. And it kind of scorched it a little bit, but I'll know better next time not to throw that much power at it. Continuing with the wood, I did this nice, like, this was actually a cartoon tattoo image that I found online, and I just let the machine run with it, and it did a fantastic job, even given the kind of feathering and the shadowing of the tattoo, as well as some highlights that are in the upper part of the heart. Turned out great. Continuing with the wood theme, pretty early on, I was like, I'll cut these kind of hearts inside of hearts out, and I'll glue them together and make something look good. And so I tried it, and I almost got all the way through it. But this brings up a good point. There's always variances in material. Once you dial a material in, that's no guarantee that that same recipe is going to work the next time. And this is a prime example of that. So what I ultimately did was I slowed the machine down a little bit and was able to get everything to come free the second time. And I just glued it up like that, and it turned out pretty nice, I think. Continuing with that same size and type of material, I did this. And so it's the same thickness, of roughly 2.7 millimeters, I think. Cut it out beautifully, and it cuts it out pretty fast too, all things considered. So next I did Cupid, and the first Cupid I was looking at, I'm like, man, the thing did a good job on that, and it was pretty fast. And I realized the tip of his arrow was gone, and there was actually a void inside the plywood right there for some reason. And so the tip fell off once the laser got done cutting. So I cut it again, and this one survived with no issue. So good job there. Continuing on the wood, obviously I've got 40 watts of power, or I need to test that. Thumbs up if you got that reference. And so I threw a 20 millimeter piece, 3/4 inch piece of solid pine at it, and in 9 passes, I don't remember, I'm pretty sure it was 9 passes, 100% power, and it blew right through it. And the wood is, you can tell it was burned sort of, but it's not like it was caught on fire. It's different. I can see the wood grain. I can still see some of the wood color. So it's kind of interesting, but it really went through that in a hurry. Will it do more than 20 millimeters? I have no doubt that it would. You'll have to do it slower. And so that means there's going to be more dwell time with the laser in the material, plus you're blowing air onto it. It's a good way to start a fire. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And as a good reminder, do not ever leave your machine unattended when you're doing stuff like this, even though I was left unattended. So be safe when you're using these things. The last thing on the wood was I actually tried this little Love You infinity shape, and I'm like, that would make a nice customized picture frame. And so I made one. So as with a lot of these test materials, these picture frames and the cups and everything else will be, there'll be links down below so you can see where those came from. And if you buy them through my links, it helps me. Doesn't cost you any more. So thanks in advance if it's something that you're looking for. So moving on to this nice craft paper test tag. And I've done this a million times, and it actually made a nice stencil. That turned out beautifully. I really didn't expect it not to. These weird shaped aluminum anodized tags, I figured they'd make a good test target, so I bought some. And so I found this geometric pattern online and said, okay, let's see how fast we can do it. So I think this went at 5,000 millimeters a minute. The real recipe will be on the screen, and it did a really good job with this. Left a beautiful mark behind. Continuing with the metal, so I brought back the stainless steel dog tag test, and this time instead of doing like a sugar skull, which I've done a lot in the past, I did a very detailed owl, probably more detailed than the sugar skull. And the interesting thing is, first off, I have a hard time taking pictures of shiny objects, and this is no exception. But when I started the job, I accidentally left the air off, the air assist, and it started changing the color on the back of the tag, which I have never seen that before. But since I'm dealing with double the power of anything that I've ever tested, it kind of makes sense. But the image that I see on the front is a nice detailed image, but there's also an image on the back, and it's more of like a heat warping image. Hard to explain, super hard to catch on camera, but trust me, I can see the owl on the back side of the tag. Really turned out really, really cool. So I ended up taking that same image, and I said, let's put it on a slate coaster. Again, natural materials, they all act a little bit different. This has a couple of off-colored parts on it, and I've seen that before because the material is natural. You don't really know what's under the surface, and once the laser gets a hold of to it, sometimes those little imperfections pop up. Perfectly usable for a coaster, looks great, image, and I hit it with some spray lacquer to kind of deepen the image, and I thought it turned out really, really well. Going back to the metal, so you may or may not remember this piece. I actually tested a machine that's specifically for metal, and this is a matte black or a flat black painted piece of aluminum bar, and it did a great job. The other machine did, but the Xtool did a fantastic job obliterating the paint off of this part, and I can actually feel that. It feels actually deeper than what the other machine did, which is kind of weird, but man, did it turn out beautifully. When it first finished, I was like, okay, that didn't turn out so well, until I cleaned it with a paper towel, because it was just basically paint dust that was left on the surface. And once I wiped it off, I'm like, man, that looks pretty snazzy. So I was pleasantly surprised with how that turned out. The last thing was playing with the RA2 rotary and the Xtool D1 Pro 40 watt. And this is a powder coated stainless steel cup. I believe it's powder coated. I think that's what it is. And I put it on the rotary, and man, did it do a great job. This would make making customized like wedding gifts or wedding party gifts, or you know, somebody's 50th or something like that, having custom cups. This would make that so easy to do, and I think it turned out great. All right, so let's talk pros and cons, and there's a lot to cover here. I'm gonna try to go through it as quick as I can. But first and foremost is the fit and the finish, the look, the design, everything. I still feel like this is kind of the Apple product of laser desktop engravers and cutters, and I still stand behind that, because I said basically the same thing about the Xtool D1 10 watt that I reviewed about 11 months ago. The ease of assembly, this is the same again as the original machine. Same fasteners on all four corners. The way the belts adjust, the way you've got a tightening screw to adjust the belt, and then a lock screw to lock that adjustment in. Same for the X-axis as well. The laser focus or the laser, well, we've already talked about that. That doesn't get much easier than dropping the kickstand and adjusting the height. But the laser power with the 40-watt head, even with the 20-watt head, if you've got that much power, it means you're cutting and engraving faster than usual, faster than the old wattage machines. I think Xtool has done a great job of building a very good platform that they can then accessorize and advance as the technology advances with the laser power, because that's really where the leapfrogging of the technology is coming from. Because a year ago I was talking about a 10-watt, and today I'm talking about a 40-watt. So it went from 2 laser diodes to 8 laser diodes being aggregated into one beam. Who knows where that's going to stop? Could it be an 80-watt machine next time? I don't know. I guess we'll find out together. The fact that they already knew that they were going to have to beef this beam up because you've got this much weight, you've got an offset where the weight is hanging forward, so you've got to add some torsional stiffness to it. They knew that. They handled that before it was an issue. The fact that the fan in the laser head is only on when the laser is doing something. Now, if it's going and it's outlining where it's going to do the job, it's on. If the laser is actually firing, it's on. But if the machine's just sitting there waiting, it's off. I think it's such a small little detail, but I love the fact that it's not blasting all the time like machines that I've tested in the past. The integrated air pathway that's built into the machine, when we looked at the laser heads, you can see that evolution where air assist was kind of a novelty at the 10-watt stage, and then you could add it on, and then in the 20-watt stage there were provisions there for it, but it wasn't stock. And then now it's just like, oh yeah, air assist, that's a thing, and we're gonna execute it correctly, and I think they did a great job of that. Something as simple as the cable retainer on the back of the laser head, they could have done that so many other ways, probably even cheaper, but that's just trick. I think it's cool. It's super easy to use, in fact. So no hate there. The magnetically attached shield, that's nice to have, easy to use. On a lot of the shots, I didn't have it on there because I just wanted you to see what the laser was doing. I wanted the camera to see what the laser was doing. That's a nice option. This works out of the box with Lightburn, and Xtool has gone so far as to provide an Xtool config file for the Xtool D1 Pro that you can just download, import into Lightburn, and that'll get you up and running that much faster. They also have their own software that you can download and use for free with the machines, but in all of my tests where I can, I've used Lightburn. This machine has Wi-Fi capability. I did not utilize that. I used the USB port like I've done with all the other tests. And as far as ports on this machine, it's pretty straightforward. Power, USB, a power switch, and then you've got the big gold button on the front for, pause it, hitting if there's an alarm on the machine for some reason, you can hit that to stop it, or if you're doing repeat jobs, things like that. The cool accessories that they've got, the versatility of the rotary axis, all the different ways that you can use it, whether it's in a roller config or 3-jaw chuck config as it's shown right here. The fact that they've got a stand that you can use when it's in roller config, if you're doing something like a baseball bat. They kind of think of everything, and I'm seeing that as a theme or a trend here, and I'm here for it. All the other accessories, the air assist, the honeycomb table that you can get, the fire suppression system that you can get for their machines. I mean, who else is doing fire suppression system? I think that's great. The laser or the material thickness adjustment, where you can set the offset to push the laser focus down into the material, that's an awesome add-on as well. So on the cons, I've never been a fan of the cable management. I mentioned this in the original 10-watt version review that I did before, and they've just stuck with what they've got. I mean, it works. I didn't have an issue with it. I would just like to see the cable not in this space. I'd like to see it elsewhere on the machine. Some are going to say that the cost is going to be a con. The base 20-watt machine is $11.99. If you get it with not all, but a lot of the accessories, the most popular accessories like the air assist, the RA2 rotary, the honeycomb bed, stuff like that, I think it's $19.99. And then if you want to do the upgrade by itself is $9.99. One nice to have that I would love to see is if the pump, the air assist pump, was integrated kind of as a holistic solution instead of kind of an accessory. And what I mean by that is just like when the fan comes on when it's needed, I would like the air assist to come on when it's needed and not just be running all the time. It's just a simple on-off switch as it is right now. But I'd like to see that level of automation brought into the machine to kind of treat everything as an entire system. So those are the pros and cons. All right, so that's a wrap on the Xtool D1 Pro 40-watt laser engraver. I'd love to know what you think about it. Please leave those comments and questions down below. If you have any interest in any of these products, whether it's the machine, the accessories, the materials that I use, all those relevant links will be down below. Be sure to take a look at the Xtool links as there's a sale going on right now, and you might be able to get some of these items for cheaper. So I appreciate you spending your time with me. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and if I've earned it, please give me a subscription as well. I would appreciate it. I hope to see you again, and we'll talk to you next time.